Hi, this week's chapter in Human Resource Management, Chapter 10, is on rewarding performance. Most workers believe that those who work harder and produce more should be rewarded accordingly. Pay for performance is also called incentive systems that reward employee performance on the basis of three assumptions. Number one, the individual employee and work teams differ in how much they contribute to the organization. Number two, the organization's overall performance depends to a large degree on the performance of individuals and groups within the firm. And number three, to attract, retain, and motivate high performers and to be fair to all employees, a company needs to reward employees on the basis of their relative performance. So this poses 9 major challenges. The first one being the do only what you get paid for syndrome. The more closely pay is tied to particular performance indicators, the more employees tend to focus on those indicators and neglect other important job components that are difficult to measure. Some teachers' pay is linked to how well students do on standardized tests and focus more on teaching the test than leaving out other important areas. The second challenge is unethical behaviors. Incentives may induce employees to engage in bad behaviors, cutting corners, hiding negative information, making or taking more credit than they deserve. For example, doctors receive incentives if they meet so many QI measures. When, for example, meeting a quarterly patient quota for screening so many patients for diabetes. Sometimes patient welfare can be affected because the provider is so focused on meeting those quotas than focusing on what is really wrong with the patient. The third negative aspect of challenge is negative effects on the spirit of cooperation. An employee may hold information from a colleague if they believe that it will help the other person get ahead. So perhaps by sabotaging a project or spreading rumors, that could ruin the spirit of cooperation. It creates internal rivalries. And then we have a lack of control. In order for doctors to receive bonuses, they may have to meet a quota for patients that they see every day, which is what they do at our place. They want doctors to see more patients in less time. This stresses out the doctors and it also jeopardizes our patient care. But they get bonuses based upon the number of generic, and they can also get bonuses based upon the number of generic drugs that they prescribe, and bonuses if they use a certain manufacturer's product. Like in the book, it talked about an orthopedic surgeon using a certain orthopedic device. Another challenge is the difficulties in measuring performance. Accurate measures of performance are not easy to achieve, and tying pay to inaccurate measures is likely to create problems. For instance, pay for performance programs for teachers are criticized for focusing on narrow criteria of student achievement, such as test scores, while ignoring more general problems that limit student learning, like such things like crowded classrooms or lack of up-to-date equipment. And then we have another challenge, which is the psychological contract. And this is a pay performance challenge. Once implemented, a pay for performance system creates a psychological contract between the employee and the firm. If this contract is broken, then the employees will be angry and things such as changing the plan. Then we have another challenge, which is the credibility gap. And many employees often don't believe that pay for performance programs are fair or that they truly reward performance. This is also called the credibility gap. Unless an effective performance appraisal and feedback system are in place, incentive programs won't produce the desired results. The eighth challenge is job dissatisfaction and stress. Pay for performance systems may lead to a greater productivity, excuse me, but lower job satisfaction. The more the pay is tied to performance, the more the work unit begins to unravel, and the more unhappy employees become. And the ninth challenge is the potential reductions of intrinsic drives. This is the last challenge of the pay performance system. The more stress an organization stresses on pay as an incentive for high performance, the less likely it is that employees will engage in activities that benefit the organization with such things as like overtime, unless they're rewarded for it. So how do we meet these challenges of a pay performance system? The first way is develop a complementary relationship between extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. Offer rewards that nourish both self-esteem and personal bank accounts. The second way is we can link pay and performance appropriately. For example, allow the employee to have control over the speed and the quality of work, excuse me, like in a piece rate system. This is a compensation system in which the employees are paid per unit produced. The third way is use pay for performance as part of a broader human resource management system. Supervisors should be trained in the correct rating practices, and if needed, employees should also receive training to make them more productive, so they can earn more. And then another way to meet these challenges are to build trust. Managers need to show their staff that they care about them, and the work that they are actually doing every day. The fifth way is to promote the belief that performance makes a difference. The sixth way is use multi-layer of rewards. The seventh way is increase employee involvement, and the best way to increase acceptance is to have employees participate in the design of the pay plan themselves. They will understand the rationale behind it and be more committed to it. The eighth way is stress the importance of acting ethically. Employees may be tempted to manipulate whatever criteria are being used to trigger the incentives. And the last way is use motivation and non-financial incentives. Reward them with things like maybe a camera, a trip, or even lowering their health insurance premium. At work, we get this reduction at where I work if we complete things like blood work, mammograms, and colonoscopies. And then we will be able to, if we meet all these criteria, then we will have a decreased insurance premium. These are healthy living incentives. So there are 4 different types of pay for performance plans. The first type is an individual-based plan. This is the most widely used. It can be accomplished in the form of rewarding based on merit pay, which is an increase in given pay, usually once per year. Individual bonuses, maybe sometimes called lump sums payments. These are financial incentives that are given on a one-time basis, and they don't normally raise the employee's base rate permanently. Some of the advantage of the individual based plan is performance is rewarded. That is rewarded will likely be repeated. Individuals are goal-oriented, and financial incentives can shape a person's goals over time. They can also help the firm achieve individual equity. And another advantage of this pay system is individual-based plans fit in with an individualistic culture. And some of the disadvantage of this system is it creates competition among your peers. It can sour the relationship between staff and supervisors. And it can also, individual plans may work against achieving quality goals. So the second type of plan is the team-based plan, and these are generally reward all team members equally based on group outcomes. As with the individualized base pay for performance, these payments could be made in cash bonuses or by non-cash bonus awards like trips or luxury items. And some of the advantages to the team-based plan is they foster group cohesiveness, and it can be measured more accurately and more reliably for an entire team than for an individual. And some of the disadvantages of the team-based plan are possible lack of fit with the individual culture values. There can be what is known as a free riding effect, where others may contribute more than other coworkers. Another disadvantage of that team system is social pressure limits performance and difficulties in identifying meaningful groups. Then we have what we call plant-wide plans, and these reward all workers in a plant or business unit on the performance of the entire plant or unit. Most corporations have multiple plants, which make it difficult to attribute financial gains or losses to any single segment of the business. The pay for performance and plant-wide programs are also called gain sharing. And this is a plant-wide pay for performance plan in which a portion of the company's cost savings is returned back to the workers, usually in the sum of a bonus. And then we have the last one is corporate-wide plan. This plan rewards employees on the entire corporation's performance, and these are given in the form of profit sharing. And these are sometimes viewed as a benefit rather than a profit. Profit sharing uses a formula to allocate a portion of the declared profits to employees, usually that are used to fund the employee's retirement fund. There's also an employee stock ownership plan, NEOP, that rewards employees with company stock either as an outright grant or at a favorable price that may be below market value. So, how do we design pay for executives and salespeople? These groups are treated a little bit differently. Executives and CEOs earn on average 500 times more than what the average employee makes in most 500 Fortune companies. The trend is now moving towards paying the CEOs more in stocks than by salary. This can be risky because the market can change overnight and they could potentially lose some of their bonuses with short-term incentives. There are two concerns. First, the CEOs may make decisions that have short-term payoffs at the expense of the long-term performance, and it can also cause middle management to become frustrated. With long-term incentive plans, these are criticized that they are not closely linked to the executive performance. And then they have what they call golden parachutes. And this states that if a CEO were to be terminated, they will receive a large lump sum payment, even if they're being fired for poor performance. Excuse me. So that is my review and summary of chapter 10 this week in Human Resource. Thank you.